And I'm jealous because I'm going to see her now coming in from Jamaica. Wow. My queen, how are you doing, sis? You're on mute.
Doing good, doing good, doing good. How are you?
I am fantastic, sis. This took a lot of effort to make sure this worked out tonight.
What?
The internet looks
You don't
good.
even
You're
know the
looking
half of
shiny,
it.
sister.
You're looking shiny. You're kidding.
You're looking beautiful.
Really? Okay, we had to move from one location to another. The internet was working earlier. Then they had repairs. Then we had to come to the great house. My partner and I carrying things. So we just want to say bless up, bless up, bless up. Greetings to you all. We're thankful to be here. We're both shiny. Okay, we're both real shiny right now. Okay.
And you're in Jamaica. What part of Jamaica are you in, sister?
I'm in San, Jamaica, in the Portland Parish, and
wow.
Not far from Moortown. Not far from Moortown. Not far from one of the 5 Moorish, maroon settlements.
Oh, fantastic,
yes.
sis. Well, sister, you know, this is your first time on our show. And I know that people are absolutely intrigued to find out who are you, what are you about, what do you do? And sister, you know, I'm looking forward to tonight, my queen. So please let us know who you are, what do you do? Because I know I found out things about you, sister, that blew my mind. So please, sister.
Well, I'd like to share my screen if I can.
You can.
All right.
Do your share screen and it's all done.
Do my share screen. Okay, hold up. Let's do it.
And just
we have internet. Yes?
Yeah, no, this is what you're doing. Yeah, we're waiting for you to share your screen, sis. But whilst you're getting that ready, I want to give a shout out to brother Winston Waterton. A fantastic brethren of mine. Love that brother, like cook food. Winston, I know you're online. I want you on my show next week, brother, because I didn't play the advert because I wanted to let them see you. We have a quick discussion and you can put the link as to where we can get your products from. This brother is supporting Hidden Truth. He's supporting the Westside Young Leaders Academy, and he's supporting all the charities that are doing great work. So Winston, I haven't forgotten you, brother. Next week, you're on my show. Sister, it's all yours, my queen.
All right. Well, peace and blessings, everyone. Just wanted to say much thanks to Andrew Muhammad, much thanks to my sister and Poppy, Angela, for letting me know about the show and letting me know about the significant work that you are doing. And so I wanted to just open with a grounding, right? And in Haitian tradition, we begin with an honor and respect. And so it is a call and response tradition. I say honor, and collectively the reply is respect. So honor, respect. And so I also, as Brother Muhammad has said, I am here in Jamaica. And so I usually like to start my presentations with a land acknowledgement. And so I'm standing on the indigenous lands of Jamaica, of the Taino and the Yamayeka people. Honor and respect to them and to the mighty Maroons of Jamaica. Hail up to Queen Nanny, a true daughter of the revolution for her courage, wisdom, and integrity. She was a freedom fighter for Jamaica and all enslaved African people. I pay respects to their elders, past and present, and give thanks. Let's collectively take a moment and consider the ancestral lands where we each live today, right? Recognizing that many of us were forcibly removed from our own homeland. But even where we are, there are indigenous people's lands where we can acknowledge.
Sister, if this is just your introduction, I'm blown already, beloved. I'm feeling this energy. Lick shot from Babylon. Go on, sister,
come with it now.
Come.
So my partner and I, we had a chance to visit Moortown, and Moortown is one of the 5 establishments of the Maroon people. And so even though I will be talking about IET and I will be talking about our spiritual traditions, it is important to hail up Queen Nanny, right? It is important because this presentation is called Daughters of the Revolution. So how can I be in Jamaica and not hail up Queen Nanny, who is a national hero of Jamaica? And so this is the cultural center in Moortown. And so for Black History Month, I wanted to share these powerful words of Lucille Clifton for the UK Black History Month. Ours in the United States is in February. And so Lucille Clifton was a poet, born in 1936, passed in 2010. And these are her words. She says, "Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between star shine and clay, my one hand holding tight, my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed." Ashe, ashe, ashe. And those are the words of Lucille Clifton. Just a brief introduction about me. These have been photographs from the times that I've started as a student, as a anthropologist, as a mommy. I am Haitian American. I am the daughter of Haitian revolutionaries and Haitian immigrants all at the same time. I am an artist, daughter, sister, mother, educator, have worked in New York City public schools. I am a visual anthropologist, filmmaker, photographer. I studied at Bowie State University, which is a historically Black college in Maryland. I studied film at Howard University, and I studied photography and urban culture, which is kind of a mixture of photography and sociology at Goldsmith, University of London. So hail up all of you that are there in the UK. Oh, and the last thing that I have on here is that I work as a scholar and as a race equity coach, and also as a voodooisant. And I put voodooisant on here because for many of those past and still present, they are not able to actively acknowledge where they are in their spiritual and religious beliefs. And so for those who cannot speak their truth, I speak mine and hail up those that are still struggling to be able to speak theirs. I'm the founder of the Wawawa Diaspora Center, and the Wawawa Diaspora Center started when I was in Benin, West Africa. I went there in 2016, just for maybe a couple of months, and ended up staying 2 years. And the Wawawa Diaspora Center began as a mobile project, one in which engage the diaspora with connecting with Africa, with the continent. And Wa is a Fon word. It's also a Yoruba word that means come, right? So Wawawa is something that I heard a lot. And so while I was there, I had friends, family, acquaintances say, "You're in Africa, you're there, I want to come. I want to see what you see. I want to experience what you experience. Please give us a tour." And so started with artist residencies, educator residencies, scholars in residence, tours, and also moved toward filmmaking. So one of the things that I did while I was there, I did a short film called Brooklyn to Benin, a Vadoo pilgrimage. And we'll share the links with you so that you can check it out on your own. And that's available for viewing on YouTube. And also the other thing that the Wawawa Diaspora Center has done is produce podcasts. So I have a podcast called Voodoo Roots, a love story musical that's also available for your listening pleasure. Nupablier, a Haitian coloring book, is also another project of the Wawawa Diaspora Center, one of the producers. And basically, I was inspired to commemorate the earthquake that happened, not this recent earthquake that just happened in Haiti, but the one that happened in 2010. And so as a photographer, I went there in support of my family, in support of countrymen, and I took significant photographs of their survival, of their power, their strength. And as the 10-year anniversary was approaching, I said, I really want to do something with these images. And so I was inspired to do a coloring book, which is available for purchase from my website. But I also want to hail up the work of Baina Bello. And because we're talking about Daughters of the Revolution, I thought it was important to just share with you her book called Sheroes of the Haitian Revolution. And I'll share a link where you can also purchase her book. a big part of the work that I do is in continuing an understanding of African spiritual tradition, specifically Voodoo. And so it is with a mixed media project called Voodoo Roots, which has also a GoFundMe. You're going to be getting a lot of links. But anyhow, I shared that. I'll share that also. And so I want to start with this quote from Dessalines. And Dessalines is one of Haiti's heroes, and actually one of the heroes, I believe, of the world, and not just of Black people. When we consider what it means to fight for freedom, what it means to put your life on the line, that is what Dessalines did. And so he was Haiti's first emperor. And so his quote is, "We have dared to be free. Let us dare to be ourselves and for ourselves." And I share this here just to put a little something there in considering where many of us are traversing. Du Bois talks about double consciousness. He talks about this place in which African Americans struggle between their identity as an American and as a Black person, because Blacks were not allowed mobility, were not allowed to fully engage in society. They were forced to, right, create, this empire, right? They were forced to build, they were forced against their will. And even afterward, when we think about the civil rights movement, when we think about going all the way to the Black Lives Matters movement, that we still are pushing for our rights. And so this is just a little bit of a view of my life. This is me, the small little baby there, with my older sister, going back and forth between Haiti and the United States, going back in the sense of language, in the sense of culture, trying my best to understand the complexity of it all. And really the grounding as a daughter of immigrants has really pushed my interest in anthropology and really pushed me forward in that way. And so this quote is where we're going to jump off. And this is a quote that unfortunately, I don't know who wrote it. It's one of those many memes that you find, but I found it, I use it often and I share it. And it basically says, "You are who your ancestors sang about in their ceremonies. You are their revolutionary prayer. You are their sacred gift to the world." And so I'm going to stop my share here. And I feel like I've shared enough. I'll put some of the different links in the chat, but would love to engage with you, Muhammad, Andrew, Brother Muhammad.
I mean, sister, that was serious. I'm not joking, beloved. Brothers and sisters, if you're feeling the sister already, look at the parameters this sister's gone through and what she's done. Tell me let the sister know, put lick shot pon Babylon in that chat room. Put some ones in there. Put some bun and cheese and bread. Because this sister ain't ramping. I mean, sister, look at the chat line. I'm hoping you can see the chat. You've got the place on fire. I knew you would. Because I know that when I read your resume, sister, I was going do lally. I said, this sister's not playing. This sister is not playing. And beloved, your research, your work on all realms is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The chat room's on fire now, sister. I should have said that. They are not going to stop typing now. And sister says she's a filmmaker. She didn't play with this, sister, brothers and sisters. Sister went into the real core of Haiti. And really met the people and felt that this is just a small clip of a part of the film the sister's done. So my queen, just tell us a little bit something about that film in there.
Sure. So actually, the film Brooklyn to Benin is specifically looking at the survival of traditional African spiritual practices, specifically looking from where I live, which is in Brooklyn, New York, and all the way to Benin. In the middle of that is, of course, Haiti. In the middle of that is also the Americas, right? Where Voodoo has survived, has taken on being called hoodoo, many, many diverse traditions. But looking at how did it move from the continent, which we understand the transatlantic slave trade, we understand how we all got here. Many of us, that's not all of our journeys, but for many of us, it's a forced journey of our ancestors. But how is it that our traditions survive? How is it that we were able to continue on our way, even with all of the challenges, even with all of the licks that we did get? How is it that we kept our way of being, our connection to nature, our knowledge of the herbs, our spiritual magic and alchemy? And so that's what that journey was. And so that was in Benin. They have an annual festival called the Vadoo Festival. And the Vadoo Festival is basically, I think Benin may be the only country that has it as a national holiday. So there are many holidays that you'll find all over the continent, but in the sense of a holiday that you get off from work, one that celebrates an indigenous way of being, I don't know too many. And so I was very, very curious to get to Benin, but also because for many Haitians, we descend from that line, right? So
Yes.
Benin was a part of the empire of Dahomey. And Dahomey was divided by the Europeans, by the British, and by the French, right? And they were fighting over it. And so part of what was Dahomey is now Nigeria. Part of it is possibly even Niger, right? Burkina Faso, and at the core of it was Benin. And so in the tradition of Voodoo, in the spiritual practices, each nation was called, right? So the way that so many people now are getting their DNA, they're going for their DNA, they're giving the Mormons all their money to find out which line are they from? Are they from Ghana? Are they from Cameroon, right? Within the Voodoo tradition, our nations were known. We called their names. And so we know the nations that we descend from. And so that is the reason why I headed to Benin. And that was a dance that was being done specifically at the Vadoo Festival.
That was absolutely amazing. Just to state, sister, that various people. We've got Sister Karen that says, "Thank you, my queen, for sharing such knowledge." Brother Earl has already said, "Knowledge is key." Thank you, sister. We've got Sharon Raymond. I see you, sister. You've done so much in your young life. Respect and wow. Brother Boss One says, African spirituality, we love it. Sister Kamani says, fantastic works. Our story is the world story, Voodoo. And so, brothers and sisters, I knew this would happen. You've absolutely blown this, and you haven't even started yet. And I knew that literally based on your beautiful, humble spirit, sister, that, you're showing that, this can be done on another level. So again, sister, this is absolutely fantastic. So sis, quick question for yourself. Was there any stage in your life journey that you was, I wouldn't use the word ashamed, I'll use the word that try to hide your Haitian origin based on the negative propaganda that was given to Haiti? And the reason why I ask you that, sister, is because we know that Haiti, the proud history of Haiti, was our very first Black Republic. They stood up, was an example that the Black man could fight back and win. Absolutely. But we know the European establishments made sure that Haiti paid such a price that went on for centuries that now they made Haiti one of the poorest Western nations. So based on your childhood, I'm talking about, not now, obviously, yes, but based on your childhood, how did that affect you?
Well, it's interesting. I was born in Washington, D.C. Being Haitian, I, of course, had family in New York, family in later in Massachusetts, probably, family also down in Florida. Where we lived, so many people did not even know where Haiti was. If you said Haiti, people would say Tahiti, right? So my awareness about myself, there was a couple of things that I didn't like growing up. I didn't have a problem being Haitian, but I didn't like the way that when I noticed my family members speaking French, that their attitude changed. So one of the things that happens with colonialization is that we take on the ways of the master, and we then begin to believe that we are now closer to the master by acting like them. So what happens for many people is, for instance, in Haiti, French is the language of the educated. And so what would happen is I would notice, for instance, my mom, when she met another Haitian person, she would never speak Creole. And Creole is the language that has remnants of the indigenous language, African, and also French, right? And so it is its own language. It is not I don't even know what the words they call it, whatever, it's not a language, it's a language, right? It's straight up a language. And so what I noticed is that there became this very elitist way of being. And as a kid, I couldn't stand it. I was like, oh God, here we go. And so I didn't know all the history. I had no idea of all the history and all the nuances, but I felt it was like fake. I felt like it was. And so what happened is that I dismissed French and Creole. As a kid, I didn't know there was a difference. I just dismissed it all and I just stuck with English. And it isn't until I went to college, it isn't until I started studying African history, Black history, that I realized, oh, child, you done made a mistake. You done made a mistake. And so, and now also, of course, reading the work of Zora Neale Hurston, who's one of my spiritual godmothers, I was like, okay, you're gonna have to get Creole back. The French can come and go, you know, right? But you're gonna have to get your people's language. You're gonna have to move forward with that. So as a kid, I think that's really what bothered me. It was the French element, as I didn't know what it was, but that element of elitism, that element of I'm better than you, and how people would find out what level of education someone had is how long they could speak French, right? And so as a kid, I was like, yeah, I'm not down with this. And so, and then the other thing that happened in the 1980s, there was a Haitian boat crisis, right? And so many Haitians leaving IET because of the Duvalier regime, and many coming and risking their lives on some raggedy ass boats, right? Just trying to get across the water to come to Miami, to get to wherever they could. And very similar to the crisis that happened recently in Texas, people traveling from 10 years ago, since the 2010 earthquake, not the 2021, traveling from IET all the way through the Caribbean into Central America and trying to come to the United States for support, right? So very much like that, I was experiencing that as a child. And the questions that I had from my family were, who are those people? Because those images of Haitians did not coalesce, did not gel with the images in my family album. My family album showed people that were, I don't know, they had family, they had someplace to be, they had belonging. These images that were promulgated by the mainstream media showed Haitians as if they were animals, as if they were, and you know, that as if they were a danger to society, that they were coming on droves and boats and beware. Right. And so as I grew and I studied, I realized, oh, this is the same thing that they've been doing to Haiti since our independence. There was a time that what was happening in IET was called the horrors of Saint-Domingue. And Saint-Domingue was the name of IET at the time because it was owned by the French.
Absolutely.
And the horrors of Saint-Domingue were basically that Black people were free. They were like, oh, hell no, y'all got to stay over there, right? So once the papers and the all of their press and all of anything that they taught about Haiti was negative, just hardcore, because the fear is that if this nation, if this energy spread, then we're in trouble, because the plantations that they had, who's gonna cut that sugar cane? Who's gonna get that cotton? Who's gonna get that tobacco? And so there was a fear of Blackness, fear of power, fear of ourselves being our free selves. And that is where I've grown in understanding of my own Haitian identity.
And I think what's key, I think we need to establish is no coincidence, sister, that you're speaking to us right now from the island of Jamaica as an Haitian daughter of the revolution, because when you go historically, there was always been a connection between the Maroons or the the rebel rousers, as the English would want to call them.
Yes.
But the militant brothers and sisters that stood up in Jamaica. And from my studies in 1791, Bookman, a revolutionary from Jamaica,
that's right,
came to Haiti and literally caused a whole slave rebellion. So cool. I don't like to call it a slave rebellion because our people are not slaves. They were enslaved.
Yes, absolutely. But one thing I want to say is that what Bookman did is that he joined forces, right? So there was already a movement happening. You have to understand that Toussaint Louverture was at the head. And in the spiritual tradition, Toussaint Louverture, the opener, is known as Legba or Eshu, right? Because he was the opener. He sacrificed himself. He made an error in thinking that the French would be honorable.
Teach this stuff.
He fell for that bullshit. He fell for that bullshit. He had been schooled by them for so long that when he was cautioned by his brothers, do not get on this boat. The French are, straight bullshit. They're not going to respect any treaty. They're not, we already know who they are. But he believed that they would. And so in his step forward, right, as the opener and all the work that was done for the revolution, Toussaint Louverture, we have to give him credit. Toussaint Louverture's family comes from Alada in Benin, right? There's actually a statue for him in Benin.
Wow.
And so when he left to go, the person who stepped up was Dessalines. And
That's my man.
And Dessalines' energy is Ogun energy.
Come on, teach us.
Energy, right? Ogun energy he is known in Voodoo tradition and in the Yoruba tradition as the deity of justice. Not of war, of justice. And so when the French realized, oh shit, we should have been negotiating with Toussaint because Toussaint didn't come with that same fire, you feel me? He wasn't coming with that. And so they made a mistake and let him die in a cell prison. But when they met Dessalines was coupe tête boule kai. Coupe tête means cut the heads, boule kai means burn the houses. Difference in energy. You want to talk about licks? Okay, that's the energy. And when Bookman Dutty came, Bookman Dutty was engaged in a congress and in a very powerful ceremony that happened on the 14th of August, 1791. But it was not just Bookman Dutty that was there. There were many Maroons that were there. There were many enslaved. There were many military brilliance that was there. The guerrilla warfare that was used against the British here in Jamaica is the same that was used in IET. When they came and fought and stood in a line and they weren't ready for the licks that came from people hanging in the trees and people in the bushes. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. They said that we fought like savages. No, we fought like people who were ready to die for our freedom. But that's the difference.
Let us remember though, sister, because sister, you're throwing it down. I'm loving this conversation. Sister, let us remember as well that not only do they say that we may have fought like savages, but yet at the same time, they study the military tactics of Toussaint Louverture up until today in military schools like West Point or whatever, UK. So that's what they give to the masses, savages. But they realize that, hold on a minute, we are all taught about Napoleon. But yet Toussaint slapped up over 30,000 French that Napoleon sent to us. We destroyed them. You see what I'm trying to say? So literally, what they're saying is absolutely eradicated. It's not even worth because they have changed the history books. But sister, I'm loving the African technique. Brothers and sisters, look, I'm so excited. I'm easy to get excited. If you're feeling my queen's African knowledge, put down in that chat room right now, Bamba. You don't have to finish it off. Just say Bamba. Lord gosh. Rastafari to the highest degree. Sister, tonight is going to be a story. I can feel it, sister. Tonight is going to be a story. We got Sister Regine, Romain. We got nearly 400 people on the platform. Sister, now, we spoke about the revolution of Toussaint. But not only was he a military leader, but he was also a doctor. And he was a herbalist from what I understand. Because is there anything more you'd like to touch on that?
Well, you're in talking about Toussaint. Toussaint did quite a bit in the sense of his military expertise. Toussaint was someone that was skilled and knowledgeable in African tradition and in the European, right? So he was very much trying to be that diplomat. When we move to Dessalines, Dessalines' story is different because Toussaint was enslaved but became free at a young age, and he was a favored African of the enslavers. So that alone, right? That alone created a difference in experience, right? So from Dessalines, Dessalines' back was riddled with scars.
That's my man.
He was always trying to escape. He was always leaving. He was always willing to fight. He was trouble from the jump, okay? And Dessalines was taught by Toya, right? And Aunt Toya is someone who descended from Dahomey. They say that she is a descendant of the Dahomean warrior women. And so she taught him the strategies that he used in the guerrilla warfare. When we talk about Daughters of the Revolution, we have to be clear that there was no separation. It was unity, right? There isn't this separation of gender that we have now where you can't do this. No, everyone is fighting for their life. So even children were taught how to fight. Even children were engaged in the warfare of poisoning masters, right? Once you understood the herbs, once you understood the plants, once you understood what to do, every single person had a role in fighting for independence. And it was elder, it was everyone from elder to child, right? So
wow.
So one of the things that was interesting, actually, when I was studying at Goldsmith, and I was reading up about the Haitian Revolution, it said that when the French came, they came with their cannons, right? They came with superior military weaponry. Yes. And they were fighting against Africans who had machetes, who had pitchforks, who had rocks. But the ferocity,
come on,
that fight,
come on,
that the energy of that,
come on,
scared the French, and they ran back onto their ships. Now, mind you, they had the cannons, but they were shooting at people and they didn't fall. And you know what that was? That was part of our African magic. That was part of our African genius. Understanding what we needed to be engaged in, which was warfare, we called on all of that knowledge, all of our spirits, all of our guides, all of our ancestors, all that God had created. We brought all of that into the battle. And so the French were not prepared for that, because what were they fighting for? They were fighting for a king that was off someplace. They were in a climate where they felt oppressed as it was. They didn't have the thirst for survival. And the reality is that fight lasted 14 years, from 1791 until 1803. What a lot of people don't know, Brother Muhammad, is that the United States, 1/3 of what is the United States, is a part of the United States because of the Haitian Revolution. It is because France was bankrupt and had fought these Africans for 14 years and was like, yo, we gonna have to bow out. We're gonna have to bow out. And so they sold the Louisiana Purchase. They sold that. That's 1/3. That's the middle part of the United States. They sold that. They sold that to the United States in 1803.
Wow. Wow. Brothers and sisters, as I said, Regine Romain is with us today. I'm absolutely feeling this. So, sister, one next question. What is your view on Kristoff?
Well, you know, there's a lot of mixed views on Kristoff. There's a lot of mixed views. And one of the reasons for that is because when Haiti got its independence, right? One of the things we have to understand is that someone had to then work the field. And so unfortunately, what you had is you had leaders later, right? Later who made decisions about who would then become enslaved again and who not. And so those are one of the things that we have to think about when we have our heroes and our heroines. We have to understand the complexity of what happened from Haiti's independence in 1804 to our current time.
Absolutely, sister, you're just a fountain of knowledge. All right, slightly moving the shift now, because from what I've studied, sister, in all of my studies, all of our civilizations, all of African empires anywhere around the world was based on spirituality. I don't know any African civilization worldwide that the spirit wasn't the fundamental. I didn't say religion, the spirituality was the fundamental root. So question to you there, sister. How did voodoo and other African religions, spiritualities, practice ground around the Asian revolution for success? How did it aid them? How did their spirituality aid them? Because it's not just about the military might, because we're using machetes.
Right.
What was the spirituality behind it, sis? And how important was it?
Well, at the core, right? At the core, one of the things that we have to remember about enslavement, that enslavement was not only of the body, it was also of the mind. And part of what the Haitian Revolution, the reason why it's a tremendous symbol around the world is because the enslaved Africans and the Maroons rejected the religion that they had been told was what was good, right? They knew their own traditions. And so the difference that happened is the knowledge and the willingness to go that place, even though the place what I'm talking about is calling on their gods and on their deities, even though they had been taught that that was evil, even though they had seen their priests, their priestesses hung, murdered, maimed, dismembered, burned. Right?
Wow.
So if you can think about part of the reason why we have a stigma around a traditional African religion for those of us here in the diaspora is because within our DNA, we have that cellular memory. We have that place where we can still feel the lashings of being ourselves. The reason why many of us are still caught in a fugue state, not knowing who we are or being able to chant forward our God consciousness is because we are caught within the stories that others have told us. So when we think about God, if God don't look like you, then what God you serving? And so the enslaved African people in the Haitian Revolution, they called on their gods. Bookman Dutty, he made a powerful prayer. In his prayer, he said that basically they're dismantling the white man's God because the white man's God has told them to do this badness, right? To do this evilness. And so the prayer, which you can look up of Bookman Dutty, that prayer was also in tandem to the work of Cecile Fatima, who was also there, who was a Mambo, right? Asogwe, Mambo Asogwe, a lead priestess in the Voodoo tradition. Not only were they present, but there were myriads of other Africans that were there that knew the rites. And so when we think about what the reason why Voodoo is maligned today, the reason why it is maligned in the way that it is because of the fact that it got us free.
Wow.
That is the reason why it's maligned, because basically it shifted Europe.
Wow.
It was the first independent Black nation, right? And mind you, it was considered to be the pearl of the Antilles for the French. It is a half of an island that made France still rich to this day.
Sorry, sis, can I just jump in on that one point? Keep your flow though, sister. Keep your flow, my queen. I just want to emphasize what the sister's saying there. At that little quarter of the island, okay, brothers and sisters, in historical times, that was literally called Little Paris. Little Paris. It was known as being the richest real estate on planet Earth. There would be no France, brothers and sisters, if it wasn't for the financial might and the economic might that came from that one little quarter of the island.
Yeah.
It was literally the paradise of France. So what the sister's saying, believe me, man, go look it up. Little Paris, they called it. Yes, my queen.
So with that, in understanding that it was the pearl of the Antilles, it was where they made their most money. Enslaved Africans lived maybe 4 years.
Wow. No, say that again. Say that again. Say that again.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Say that again, sister. How long did they live? Yeah, I was just saying, say that again. How long did they live for? Emphasize that.
I said that they lived maybe up to 4 to 5 years. We're talking about labor. We're talking about labor, not like labor today when we are on the internet and we're working and we're typing and we're doing this type of work. I'm talking about hardcore labor, not even at sunup, before sunup, after sundown, right? And also one of the things I think is always important when people scoff at indigenous knowledge and the healing that can still heal us today, who was it that was healing those licks? Who was it that had to interpret the dreams, right? So for instance, when you think about it, you come to a land, you're brought against your will. You don't know, as they say here, they say in the US, shit from Shiola. You don't know from one thing to the next, but your spirits, your ancestors are speaking to you in dreams. They are guiding you. And so when you see your beloved, when you see those that you care for hurt, maimed, and wounded, and you go now and you talk to this plant, and this plant tells you, use me for this healing. This plant tells you to use this for women in labor. How do you think that we got that knowledge? How do you think that that happened? How did that happen? And how is it that it can be evil if it was healing us?
This is great teaching. Carry on, sister. Carry on, please. This is brilliant.
So moving forward and thinking about how Voodoo grounded the Haitian Revolution, it's important for us to recognize that if the God that you worship, if you're not allowed to have the God that you worship look like you, then that means that even within your imagined space, which is often the first place that we hold God, we can see the manifestations of God in nature, right? We can see the manifestations in God through miracles. But in the sense of how we envision God first begins in our imagination. And if within our imagination, our God don't look like us, then immediately you are subservient to not only to that image, but to who that God represents. And the Haitian Revolution was clear that we are African, we are proud, and we are going to fight for our freedom to the very death.
Sister, brothers and sisters, if you feel we need this sister back on the platform, put some ones down, If you're, because I don't see something, I need to know, is it just me? Is it just me? Let us know whether we want this sister, because this is just amazing. Wow. So sister, I'm going to play something very quickly. I would like your views on this little clip, sister. I'll just play this now.
A humanitarian crisis at America's border with Mexico has become a full crisis of conscience for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
It is tragic and it is heartbreaking.
For more than 3 weeks, the border bridge connecting Del Rio, Texas with Mexico has served as the only shelter for thousands of Haitian migrants, many having fled a country devastated by natural disasters and political turmoil, only to arrive to a hellish landscape with squalid conditions. This woman says kids are starving to death and several people are sick. Thousands have already been deported back to Haiti under a policy imposed by Donald Trump, which uses the pandemic as a reason to deny them from crossing the border.
We have reiterated that our borders are not open and people should not make the dangerous journey.
Families and asylum seekers are all that's taken for processing, but it isn't deterring the flood of migrants who face an aggressive response from border agents, some on horseback using intimidation to keep people off American soil.
I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate.
DHS has referred the matter for internal investigation, and the vice president, who is tasked with handling the immigration crisis, is pushing back on critics who argue the White House is either doing too much or too little to help migrants.
Talk about a country that has just experienced so much tragedy. They leave when they cannot satisfy their basic needs.
Many of these people fled Haiti years ago and have lived since then in South America, making them ineligible for asylum.
And so that's also part of the equation as to why they can return to country.
In May, Haitian immigrants already in the U.S. were granted protected status, but not those trying to cross now, who under this pandemic, seeking a new life, are seen as a public health threat. Regine, Global News, Washington.
My queen, knowing the proud roots, the royalty of Haiti, how does it make you feel seeing your brothers and sisters today in this situation, and how the news and the media report them like they're a virus, or they're just people, literally, basically criminals, basically? How does it make you feel, sister? What would you like to say to us in the UK and in Europe about your feelings on this?
Well, I would say that it's historic. And so in some ways I can react in a very emotional sense, and I can become very emotional in the sense of looking at human beings being treated in that way. But what I understand is that Haiti has been, how can I say, has systemically been underdeveloped, right? So when we talk about what does it mean for a nation to remain in a state of underdevelopment, Haiti is example numero uno. Since Haiti's independence, we have, I'm sure that all of you know, that Haiti faced an embargo by the French, half of the island all surrounded by French ships, British ships, until the Haitian president agreed to pay reparations to France, right?
Yes.
Reparations that the amounts of are like billions, right? Like just crazy amounts. And so when you think about it, a nation newly developed, right, struggling to be able to bring itself into the world market, which is what Henry Kristoff was trying to do. Henry Kristoff was also engaged in building the citadel, but in that he had to bring in enforced labor. So what you're talking about is a nation battling itself, battling its old self, and still trying to survive. And so from that moment to the very moment where you're looking at Haitians crossing the Mexican border trying to come to the United States, it is because of systemic underdevelopment of the West. It is because of systemic poor leadership in the country. And unfortunately, there's a place in which many people have given up hope. They've given up hope on each other. Right? And when you think about a mass number of migration coming to the United States, people are, it's not only Haitians that come to the United States, right? When Trump was in power, he said he was building the wall for the Mexicans, right? And the reality is that that border is not even a real border. That Texas is a part of Mexico, like, to keep it real. And
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult. I mean, it's hard because we're looking at human beings, we're looking at people who are trying to just have a better life, right? But understanding that that situation in Haiti will continue to repeat until leadership changes, until we break the ties from the West altogether. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. The United States has its 4th largest embassy on the little half of the island that Haiti is.
Stop it.
4th largest embassy in the world is in Haiti.
Stop your noise.
Why?
Stop it.
What a lot of people don't know is that Haiti is rich in resources. And so while the people are leaving, trying to find another life elsewhere, the United States is there with their allies, digging in, just like here in Jamaica, taking out the bauxite or whatever it is that they're digging for. In Haiti, there is a natural element known as iridium, right? And when you just dig just a little bit, you'll begin to see and begin to wonder, these people leaving shouldn't be leaving because Haiti has the resources to support its nation. But if you have the West coming in and taking that out and putting in puppet governments, then we'll always be in this cycle. We will always be in this cycle, but it's difficult because it's also Haitian people that are allowing it, right? It's the elite families that are there, that are tied to Israel, that are tied to France, that are tied to the US, that are tied to Canada, that are tied to the West, basically, right? And are allowing these foreign entities to come and take Haiti's natural resources. So how can we rebuild? How can we actually make inroads toward development if the very resources that we have are being taken out?
This is serious, sister. So based on that, what you just stated, what is your views then, sister, of two questions I'm going to ask you in one? What's your view of the Clintons and their involvement in Haiti? And what's your view, if you can answer this, what is your view on the assassination of the Prime Minister or the President of Haiti?
Well, I can't really speak on the assassination of the Prime Minister, except that it looked like a lot of outside hands, right? I can't really speak. I haven't visited Haiti under that president. There are many speculations about why he was assassinated. Some people said that he was really trying to make positive changes in Haiti, and others were saying that he was not in alignment with the elite of Haiti, and so the elite of Haiti, along with the West, engaged in his assassination. There's a lot of speculation, but in the sense of the politicalness of Haiti, there's so much duplicity there, right? And the Clintons are very much a part of that. I mean, while Bill Clinton was president, he forced an embargo on IET that forced IET to stop the production of their own rice, right? And that's important, right? Like, you know, to be able to sustain yourself.
Yes.
And so he forced that through the embargo under Clinton, and forced them through their IMF World Bank deals to purchase rice. And where did they have to purchase rice from? Arkansas.
Oh,
And
no.
Arkansas is Bill Clinton's home state.
No.
So you're talking about a country that has the resources to have their own, right? To feed their own, to care for their own. And now in taking these loans and taking these agreements in from the West, they had to stop the production of rice. Rice is fundamental to the Caribbean, right? And now purchase rice from Arkansas. So today in IET, the production of rice is still low. It's still very low. Many of those farms were shut down, and they still are, just like sugar, unfortunately. If you could think about, while, you know, before the Haitian Revolution, the French coffers grew along with their cavities because of how much sugar was entrenched in their life, that now we you know, as a country, Haiti is importing sugar. It's importing rice. Impossible. So when I talk about a nation that is in a state of underdevelopment on a fundamental level, I mean, these are key factors where you're not even able to sustain and grow food for your own nation.
Sister, this is, you're opening the eyes, beloved. You're opening eyes tonight. Sister, what role does African religion, spirituality, and Black spirituality practices have on the future of the Black diaspora and its next generation?
Yes. Well, I think that the key, what it is freedom. On a fundamental level, to be able to be yourself, and also just understanding, because a lot of people they don't understand the religion, the history of how they got the religion. They don't understand how they became Baptists. They just know that's what they are. But what I do find interesting, any Black church that you'll go to, most of them in any capacity are still very African. That though they can call on JC all day, they can call on Jesus all day, but the way that they worship is very African. What I find interesting is that there is a growing number of I think especially women, young women, that are stepping outside of how they were raised and are really digging into that part of themselves that the family doesn't talk about. They're digging into the part of themselves, trying to understand their dreams, trying to understand themselves as spiritual beings. And I think that is a move for the best.
Yes.
When we are able to ground ourselves with an understanding of who we are, it gives us greater strength and power to deal with the wickedness that many of us cannot escape from because we live in Babylon. Right? Straight up.
Straight up and down.
So I feel like as we move and grow in our understanding, we grow stronger in moving forward toward our own freedom.
Beautiful. Okay, sis, I'm going to play a last little clip, okay? I would like your views on this clip. And to all the sisters, especially sisters tonight, daughters of the revolution, please give me some of your feedback in the chat room on this clip, whether you agree, disagree, why, yes, no. I'm going to play you something that's quite powerful, but I want to know from a feminine, spiritual self, how does this affect you and how does it feel for you? And obviously, Sister Regine, I'm looking for your feedback.
Women are the moon. that are able to translate the heat of the sun. So women are not natural, women are spiritual. That's why your periods are on the cycle of the moon, not on the calendar. Then women are the spiritual element. They are the water that are able to translate what is spiritual and make it physical. So human beings come into the womb of the woman as water, and women convert the spirit, the water, into physical bones and marrow to become human beings. So women are divine, and they are the water, the medium between two elements. They are the present, because they are able to translate for us what is in the past in terms of our genes and connect it to the future. That becomes the children. So that trinity of time, the trinity of spirituality needs to be understood, because that becomes the meeting places. Then in Shona we say Muari, which means Ma'ari, which means inside the woman. That's where God resides, to translate that which we cannot see, to make it visible. Yeah.
Could it be that, is it a coincidence that we have the Ma'at and the Ma'ari?
The African cultures have a common background, which is actually, in the Shona, when we say let's pray, we say kuna mata, kuna ma'at. In other words, we are going back to ma'at. We are submitting to the feminine that is in all of us. And mudzimai, mudzi is the root. Mai is the mother. Therefore, mudzi is the roots of humanity are women. And musikana, that is a woman. And Mwari in Shona is called musikawano. And musika is the small piece of wood we use when we are making our traditional meals. That you mash up water and meal to make the ugari or to make the pap. Therefore, musika means creator. Ana, vana means children. Musikana means the one who makes children. So therefore, God is also musikavano, the one who makes people. So if God makes people, women make the children. Therefore, in our African, particularly in the Shona culture, it is very clear that women are given the similar name to God himself, which is Musika Ana, the creator of children.
Wow. I mean, it's not like this is even what we...
Wow. My queens, let us know in the chat room, how did you feel about that? And my queen, Regine, please, what's your views based on your spirituality and your knowledge?
Well, I definitely want to hear more. I've heard a little bit of his lectures and presentations, and I feel like there's a part, there's so much in there that is true. What's often difficult for us to acknowledge is that when we hear that we are made, because many of us are raised with the Bible, right? We can accept the Bible saying that we are made in the image of God. It is difficult for us to give that same power and strength to our African traditions when they speak the same truth, right? Which is in essence saying that we are also God's here. And so I want to hear more from the brother, because I feel like there's always more to learn, but in the sense of understanding what creation is and who the feminine divine is, that is who we are.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Brothers and sisters, Regine, Romain, brothers and sisters, what did you think about tonight, brothers and sisters? What an amazing, Poppy knows, Poppy C knows the quality behind this sister. And I hope that Poppy's online right now. I want to give a shout out to Sister Poppy. I hope that she's online right now. She is literally a living legend for us. Brothers and sisters, because I'm in such a good mood tonight, Sister Regine has totally destroyed the platform without any tears at all. She came, she saw, she conquered, and go on about her business again. So brothers and sisters, if you would like to just say a few words to Sister in the last 2 minutes we got left now, 5 minutes or so we got left, please raise your hand if there's a question, or if you just want to give a feedback to the sister of how she has touched you, please let me know, because I'm in a good mood, man. I'm in a good mood, and I want us to be able to let's have a look. Jeez, I can see hands going up already. Let's have a look. Oh wow, come on now, just sort yourself out. Give me 1 second, brothers and sisters. Lord gosh. Hope this thing, oh, there it is. I've got it. Allowed to talk. Sister Clarion from Jamaica. Sister Clarion from Jamaica. Unmute yourself, sister.
Greetings.
Come on, my queen.
Greetings. Hi.
How are you, my beautiful sister?
Doing well, doing well. Nice, nice. What part of the island are you?
I'm in Kingston, Jamaica right now on Malines Road.
All right, all right. Oh, I'm here in Sansan at the Frenchman's Cove. You know it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Listen, sister, beautiful presentation. I just wanted to add about the IMF. They never help anybody's economy. Just 10 years ago, 11 years ago in 2010, our government handed over the country once again to the IMF. And at that time, it took 75 Jamaican dollars to buy $1. Jamaicans now have to find 150 Jamaican dollars to buy $1. Our economy has not grown in over 20 years, and our murder rate is going up. On this island, we're killing 5-6 people every single day. So nowhere in the world where you find an IMF agreement has it helped that country long term. It's pure rubbish. Back in the 70s, our farmers had to stop producing the milk, and we had to import. Our people are now living on imported milk powder from Europe, and our people are eating chicken backs, right? When the Americans don't want the chicken back, they put 30 pounds of chicken back into a case and they send it to Jamaicans. And I know the Haitians, they send it over there as well because they've crushed your economy as well. So this is what the IMF really does. They destroy people's economy so that we can eat the refuse of what they don't want to eat. Right? The milk that they have in excess, they dry it out and they send us their nasty milk powder to eat.
That's right.
Sister Regine, what have you got to say to that?
She's speaking the truth. I mean, come on, we know this. I mean, part of the challenge for many of us is because we are living in the West, we are living within the comforts of the West. So we can go and get organic. We can pay that extra dollar to go and get that. But once you step outside of the United States or outside of Europe, and you start looking at the policies that your country, right, the country that we're living in and living well, and have our great internet and have our great whatever, and then you come someplace else and you're like, but why come, why, how? Yeah, because we are not connected to each other. We come for vacation, but we don't come to actually engage. We come to, and we're often separate from each other. We don't know our collective histories. We don't know, we don't care, right? And I'm not talking about just white people. I'm talking about Black people that are not accountable to what their own government does because they don't care. And it isn't until you step outside of yourself that you begin to see, wait a minute, hold on a minute. How can I have the very best, but right here where my family is from, many of us have connections to other countries, right? And so that's one of the reasons why some of us have that awareness is because we return to those other countries and we see what's happening, right? You don't know, how do we know what the IMF did, this and that? But if you just read just a little bit, you'll find out. If you come and visit another country and find out what the value of their dollar is. In IET, the dollar used to be 1-to-1 with the Haitian good. I don't even want to think about what the Haitian good is right now, right? It's ridiculous because after Duvalier passed and after his son took millions and millions from the World Bank and destroyed Haiti's economy, which was already broken, and allowed for the elite to continue to make these deals and to get their cut off of the millions, which is basically what happens. You offer loans to a country, the elected officials get their cut.
Absolutely.
They get their cut and they don't care. And then the policies come in where now the people are suffering, where the people now have to steal from each other and have to break into this person's house just to go and, unfortunately, not far from where we are, they have stolen copper. So the telephone lines don't work. Don't work. They done stole the copper off the line.
Wow.
Because that's what people need at this time, right? They, on a basic level, people are fighting for survival.
Absolutely, sis. Brother Calder Stapleton, Brother Calder Stapleton, can you speak, please? Unmute yourself, King. Brother Calder, if he can hear me. Brother Calder, we're giving you a chance to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, King.
Oh. Can you hear me, King?
Yes, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Lord gosh. Brother, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, give thanks, give thanks.
Give thanks.
Well, give thanks, Brother Andrew and Sister Regina. I was saying, presentation was excellent. Bowing down at your feet,
wow.
learning from the Queen. I'm an elder, but right now, I feel like a child sat at my mother's feet and learning from my mother's experience. So I honor and respect you, and I would definitely love to see you back again.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, brother.
Thank you.
Sister, what's your reply to our king? What's your reply to our king?
Yes, honor and respect to you, elder. Honor and respect.
Wow, wow, wow. All right, sister. We've only got one or two. Let's have we've got a whole lot of, I've got a long line of hands going up, but we can't get to all of you, so forgive me. E. Henry. E. Henry, can you unmute yourself? E. Henry.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we're with you, Queen.
I came in rather late, but I like what I did hear from the MFI and Mr. Clinton. I didn't realize that it was so bad with the MFI banks, and that I've heard of it. And I know that quite a lot of the countries that use it, it's enlightening that it's how it goes so deep. And really, truly, it made me look, well, I'm here in England, thank God, we can get help, I can get help, but out there I'm like, it's how do you all really survive?
That's a good question. That is a very good question.
It's time we stop surviving. I think we need to live.
Sister Regina, how would you answer that?
Well, one of the things that's I think is important is that first we need to become educated on what our nations are doing, right? So there's a place of disconnect for many of us that we have with the political system. We have a disconnect because we like it's straight Babylon, right? It's pure rubbish. But without engagement, then we don't know what, for instance, the United States, the International Monetary Fund, what they do. Right? We don't know what the World Bank does. And there are certain things that we do know that these global powers have up their sleeve that we may not know until it's done. But there is a place that we can become engaged and that we can become much more educated, right? And so recognizing that though we may be sitting in the UK, we might be sitting in the US, we might be sitting in Canada, it does not mean that that seat of comfort that we have is where we remain. You know, one of the things that we didn't talk about were the missionaries in Haiti. Missionaries in Haiti that just got kidnapped. Straight up, I hope that they're freed and that they're okay. I mean, on the larger scale, don't want no harm, don't want nothing to happen to anybody. But just like that indigenous island where they told the missionary not to return, and the missionary continued to return, and they and was told, do not go to this island, because they don't want you there. And this is, I believe it's off of India, yeah? And the missionary continues to go. When we understand what those missionaries were actually doing, unfortunately, many of these missionaries are engaged in pedophilia. They're engaged in acts of kidnapping of children. And I'm not saying these missionaries that were kidnapped are specifically those. Some of them, there have been some news articles about what's happened. We have to be clear that often we think that we know the answer for the disenfranchised. And that is not true. We think that our missionary acts are the answers because we're still operating in a very colonial mindset. Free yourself so that you can see exactly who you are and understand that there is wisdom and that there is power, even with those that may have less economically. And so I feel that more than anything, we need to educate ourselves so that we can educate our children and that we can also make educated political decisions.
Fantastic answer, sister. Fantastic. Sister Eleanor, can you unmute yourself? Sister Eleanor Matthias, can you unmute yourself? I'm trying to get as many people because we're now reaching the end. But Sister Eleanor, if you wanted to speak, can you unmute yourself? We've got quite a few people with their hands up. Sister Eleanor.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, my queen.
Oh, great. Lovely to meet you too. And God bless your father. He's in good hands, Andrew. Yes, well.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, dear.
Yes, well, I think at the end of the day, you know, it should not be about color, race, creed. You know, at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters. We all come from the same source, and we should learn, perhaps to relearn, to love and respect each other for the greater good. You know, especially during these times, these difficult times that we're experiencing, we should be mindful and focused that, you know, we all need each other ultimately to survive and to love each other. And especially to think about the young people's future, which, well, is difficult. We should, especially Black young people, what they need most of all is love. They need love, respect, they need support, mentoring. They need to give them some sort of direction and hope. That, for me, the most vulnerable people in society, more than disabled people. Young Black people, especially boys.
Oh, okay, thank you, sis. Was there a question out of this, or was that really, you're saying that we just need more love regardless?
Yes, it's all about love.
Okay,
love
Sister
and
Regine.
respect. Thank you,
Sister Regine,
Andrew.
what would you say to that, my queen? You're on mute.
Thank you, thank you. That's the quote of 2020. You're on mute. So absolutely, love and respect, right? We understand that that's the beginning, but there are different types of love, and often we get caught up in a love. Sometimes this love that we're talking about is not a love with action. And so when we understand that it is important that we act, right? You know, it's the type of thing when we think about we love our brothers and sisters, but yet we can walk past the homeless all the time. We just do, right? We talk about what the youth need, but the reality is when they run up on you, you lock your doors, you hold your purse. Now, this is not everybody, but we're all part of this. We all have been conditioned. We also have been taught to not trust each other. And so I appreciate what the sister was saying, is because part of the shift that needs to come is really recognizing, how do we rebuild, reconstruct our community? How do we move forward in love? What does it mean for love, for it to be a critical love, one that it holds not only others accountable, but most importantly, yourself?
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And let's have a look. JJ Weller. JJ Weller, can you unmute yourself? JJ Weller, can you unmute yourself as we come
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, I would like to say thank you. And I'm a Creole speaker, and I've got a question about the power of Creole. I wanted to know, what do you believe are the benefits of Creole? And as an educator, how can we make it part of the curriculum? Because I believe that Creole has a lot of power. So what do you think are the power and benefits of the Creole language? And where do you see it going in the future? Etymology. Thank you.
Absolutely. Are you from St. Lucia?
My dad's from Martinique.
Okay. So one of the things that's clear is that we understand that culturally responsive education, which is basically education that responds to the culture of the youth that are there, right? That is what's key. And if any language that the community speaks is not a part of it, then it's dismantling the culture. So if Creole speakers are, whether they're in Martinique, St. Lucia, Haiti, if they're in Brooklyn, right? The language is key. There are places in which expressions, ways of beings, way of expressing ourselves are key to our culture. And so as an educator, that's a big part of the work that I do. That's a big part of the work that I do as an equity coach, going into schools, going into administration buildings, going into community centers, and really pushing to have the culture of the youth that are there represented in the curriculum. Finding ways to bring the language, the culture, the arts of that community present. And so I say ashe to JJ Welter.
What a beautiful sister. I'm just reading some of the notes, and sister, who's this? No, Brother Earl Taylor says, Brother Andrew Mohammed, this entire presentation with Sister Regine needs to be heard by the young Black children all over the world so that they know who they are before they are confused by contemporary literature and proponents of the current system. We've got Dominic. Oh, Sister Dominic is a powerful sister. I know this sister. She says, Sister Regine, Brother Andrew, I'm loving this sister so much. I would like to work with her on my project in Haiti. So she's doing some work in Haiti already, sister. And
okay.
So please, again, just put your contact details or let us know again how that people from this show can contact you, sister, because so many people are just loving you. And I've got another saying, this sister, Andrew, Brother Andrew, this sister needs to come back on the show and do the entire show. Wow. Wow. That brought a smile on Regine's face just then. That only just put a smile on Regine's face. Wow. Wow.
Right.
Wow. I mean, tonight has just been absolutely amazing. Amazing. This is one sister, as I said, thanks to Poppy, we will be doing this. As I said to the sister from the time I met her, I said, sister, tonight is just the introduction. We need you on this show. Brothers and sisters, if you're feeling my queen right now, put in the chat line, blouse and skirts. I know it doesn't make any sense, but just put it in the chat room. Blouse and skirts, brethren. Rastafari to the highest level. Lick shot from Babylon with rice and peas and a buffalo soldier and a dreadlock Rastafari. This is Sister Regine's debut show on this platform. We want to make sure that we all connect with her. Sister Regine, I'm telling you now, sister, when you're ready to travel back to the UK, you've got an army waiting for you now. I want you to understand that on this platform, we don't play, sister. We don't play. So, you know, when the travel restrictions or whatever sorts out, I know personally, I would love to do an event, live event with yourself, get hundreds of our people there, and we can listen to you live.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm trying to say, sister? So this is,
I would love it.
How have you found your time on the show, your first time with us?
Well, I just want to say that it was wonderful. I mean, you know, we was, how do I say, we were running to get the good Wi-Fi because it was, and I said, no, we're going to make this work. My partner was right there with me, sweat dripping down our face. If you look at if you rewind the video, you'll see all the sweat that was on our face. And part of that sweat is just good vibes. It's actually, you know, putting the energy forward so that we can connect. One of the things that's difficult during this time is for us really folks to be authentic. A lot of times people just are speaking a lot of rubbish because people got something they're trying to sell, they got this or that. And the reality is that we have to do the due diligence. At this time, we have to read for ourselves. You know, there's tons of documentaries. We're in a place where there is no reason why this information that we don't know, right? The challenge is, you know, as an educator here in the United States, there's a movement here that started under Trump to ban critical race theory.
Yes.
Critical race theory is an academic study that has existed from back the boys, okay? When he was talking about double consciousness, as I mentioned earlier, right? He's talking about race and talking about the effects of race on the society. That is something that has been studied academically for years. What has happened from Trump and forward is that there's a movement for many, many states to ban teaching accurate history. They have said that if I teach this history where I'm accountable to the indigenous people, that I'm accountable to the Black and brown people, that I'm accountable to those whose lands were stolen, whose families were killed, then that's gonna make my little Susie feel bad. And because she's gonna feel bad, right? So when we think about that, what kind of history are we teaching right now? How is it that we cannot speak this truth because somebody else feels bad? Because we continue to live for their comfort. So
come on, sister.
You know what I'm saying? So there's something ain't right with that. It ain't right, right? We can't keep having that where we can't know the truth because somebody else is afraid of the truth, because it makes someone else feel uncomfortable. It makes them cry. It makes them feel guilty. That guilt that others may feel, I'm not accountable for it when I'm still got to live in this Black skin that is still maligned in this society. How am I going to be accountable for your tears when you still are shooting my husband, my son, my people? I don't have time for your tears.
Woo! Oh my God, sister, I don't know, sister, you're on fire. I feel like Jamaican ackee and saltfish is like just feeding that rebellion with you, sister. It is amazing. I mean, we've still got nearly 400 people still on the platform, sister. And there's more than 400. 400 of only those counts those with computers. When we add those with on iPads, I'll give you the full breakdown tomorrow, sister. But over 400 people been on their laptops listening to you. The feedback has been absolutely phenomenal. I hope that you spend time having a look at some of that feedback, because it's just been amazing, sister. Just one last quick thing, sister, because time is now finished. Is hubby around at all? Can we just say hi to hubby? Is he around at all? We want to see the man that's beside you, sister.
Yeah.
Come on, hubby. Come on, man. Man, so shy. So shy. Come on. I love him, man. Brothers and sisters, make some noise. Make some noise in the house.
Shout out to you.
Oh, my brother. We know that you're powerful, brother. And you've got a queen like this by your side, reflecting you. And it takes a very, very powerful, courageous man to allow his wife to go out there. And you're not inhibited. You got yourself reassured within yourself. Yeah, go out there and speak the truth. Brother, we love you. We bow to you, my king. And it's pure love. If you can see the chat line, Lord gosh, boy, brothers and sisters, wow, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Sister Regine, this is your first time on. Thank you, my brother. This is your first time on this show. We love you so much, my queen. And obviously, behind the scenes, I want to be talking to you about coming back on the show, and we discuss the theme, because, sister, as I said from the beginning, just your first slide as an introduction, we could have ended the show. You gave us enough information in that first slide to say our bellies are full. Our bellies are full. So, brothers and sisters, again, make some noise for the queen, Sister Regine Romain. She's giving us a live from Jamaica. Yeah,
live from Jamaica, from the land of the Maroons.
The land of the Maroons. The land of the Maroons. Pure love. Sister, this was the last show on a Tuesday Hidden Truth for Black History Month, and you aced it. You killed the game.
Well, thank you. I just want to say thank you. I've been putting in the chat my Voodoo Roots GoFundMe. So anyone that's still on the line, we have a goal we're trying to reach. We're at 21,000. We're trying to get 55,000. I know that there's some people with lots of extra cash, right? I know.
Come on now.
They out there, right? They got that inheritance that doesn't come from somebody. Go ahead and bless us, put it in there. And of course, continue to bless the house. Continue to bless the house so that these programs can continue. One of the things that we have to do, once we realize that there are authentic folks out here that are really doing this work, we have to support them. And if we understand that it creates a shift in vibration in our bodies, in our spirits, and in our mind, be accountable with the dollar bills, with the pounds, with the euros, send the blessings. Ashe.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. Brothers and sisters, let's make some noise for our sister, Abby Osho of Melanin Soul, our beautiful queen. Sister, how did you find our Sister Regine? How did you find her, sister?
Wow, wow, wow. Sister Regine, asheo, asheo, asheo. Absolutely on fire, absolutely on fire. And I just really want to say, I'm so blessed to have been on this show tonight, Daughters of the Revolution, a powerhouse. But Brother Andrew, what I also want to say is, when I think about what you're doing and where we are here, we are the family of the revolution. Everybody on this platform, we are the family of the revolution. That's all of us here, because we're here learning every single week, and that's helping us to become stronger. And Sister Regine, you did an amazing job. And I just want to finish off with something that I wanted to say that I shared with those of you that were with me in Birmingham, and we were shouting it out loud. And this is a saying by the late, great Kwame Nkrumah. And it goes like this: I am an African, not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me.
Woo! Wow!
Ashe.
I am an African, not because I was born in Africa, because Africa was born in me. That can't be taken from any of us.
There it is.
That is us, family of the revolution.
What, sister, you left it till the last minute to drop a bomb on us tonight. Lick shot from Rastafari with rice and peas. My God, sister, that was disgusting. Meaning that was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, sister. Oh my gosh, Abby Sholo's there. Brothers and sisters, don't forget, on Thursday, Brother Andrew Mohammed, I'm dropping a free event live online with Hammersmith and Fulham Council. We're dealing with the UK's Black Civil Rights Movement, just like our sister Regine educated all of us about the Haitian Revolution.